Welcome to Universal Month 2020. No, 2021, excuse me. We're not in 2020, 2021. So, as you can see, I'm wearing a different shirt now. Because I'm going to be swapping t-shirts back and forth. Because I'm going to be, all that. I'm just going to do that. So, I decided to take a look at a trilogy of films based on the beloved series that comes near and dear to my heart. We're taking a look at the sequels to Back to the Future. But we're taking a look at, and we're going to be doing the sequels. We're going to take a look at, first one we'll take a look at is Part 2. And since it is a double feature night, I'm going to go straight to Part 3 after I'm done making this video. And the set I watched it off of was the old 25th anniversary trilogy box set. I love this box set. This is one of those box sets that I'll talk about special features in a moment. Basically, it's all three films and a bonus disc. Now, before I go on the review, I found some funny. I had a hard time playing Part 2. Because for some reason, Part 2 glitched. It glitched at the beginning. So it took away 2/3 of the beginning. So I missed a lot in the beginning. Plus, it glitched so bad at the end credits, meaning by I couldn't watch the end credits. Instead, it stopped the whole thing and took me immediately to the bonus features. So that's not a good sign. So ultimately, I'm going to have to rebuy a second copy of this set. I didn't want to go all the way to Walmart and pay for the new editions and pay $40 out of pocket. I only paid back in the day right there, $10. I got this at a bargain bin shop, which no longer runs. Sadly, the owner of the place, I don't really like to get into this, but I got a place called Nick's Bargain and Variety when I was starting to buy just random DVDs, and I've been eyeing up this set for so long. I watched a DVD trailer on the Express DVD set, and I've been wanting to get my hands on this for such a long time because I never bought the 2002 release. I opted to wait and to get this. And this set actually was released in 2011. Did I? Yeah, I think it was off that. Maybe, no, wait, it was off of one Despicable Me. The first Despicable Me had a preview for this, so I went ahead and bought that. So I couldn't play much of Part 2. It played fine until it got to the credits, and then it immediately just stopped. And I realized I'm going to have to find another copy. So now that I talked about that, let's talk about Part 2. Part 2 is actually a lot of fun. This is my first time watching. I opted to wait a while because I watched Part 1, was going to go into this, but the disc kept glitching and glitching and glitching. And I never bothered watching the sequel, so I immediately went to Part 3 because I wanted to continue this. So, Part 2 picks up right after the first movie. They travel, Marty, Doc, and Jennifer travel all the way back to the future of 2015. So, they eventually leave 2015 and they head back to the 50s. So they intertwine. You're going to have to watch the first film because it's intertwined with it. But the scene I like the most, and I've seen this so many times on YouTube, is in 2015, there is a holographic Jaws. So we're introduced to the Griff Tannen, who's another ancestor of Biff Tannen. And the main character in Part 3, I'm not going to talk about Part 3, we'll have to wait to get to Part 3. But just the craziness. It also introduced the hoverboard, which is the first time I knew about that. So he's trying to get away from the guys. The hoverboard stops, they're chasing him. So Marty just drops right into the water and they go flying in there. It's the first time I've ever seen Marty actually get soaked in the film. Similar to that, but like I said, I don't really need to explain much about this. But if you have not seen this, you're on a disjustice to service. See these movies. They're masterpieces. The second one is not as good as the first. I think it had some funny moments like when Biff meets up, there's old Biff, young Biff, and futuristic Biff. So they get into Biff basically owning the town. Not owning the town, but I think he becomes the mayor of Hillwood. But in the middle of the film, we're introduced to, basically talks about Biff's ancestors, including Mad Dog Tanner, which eventually comes into, actually it's Buford Mad Dog Tannen, who basically comes into part 3. We'll get to part 3 soon. I don't want to talk about part 3 because then I'll make this video long. I've seen that so many times and I love these movies. Back to the Future Part 2 is my first time sitting down. So Marty's running, so he basically, and they play I Can Drive 55, which is a Sammy Hagar song. Great song, by the way. Very good song. So, in the middle of it, he basically gets back, and it's funny how young Biff meets old Biff. He's like, "Get the hell in my car, old man!" Just so many great lines. I'm sitting there chuckling really hard. It is such, like I said, it's such a fun movie. Yeah, it is a really fun movie whatsoever. Like I said, if you haven't seen any of those films, you're really missing out. I say watch part 1. I still think the strongest of all of them is the first and third, in my opinion. Even though I'm going to be reviewing the third, and I've already seen it so much. But I'm stoked to rewatch 3 again. The last time I watched it was with commentary, but I'm going to sit down and rewatch it again. I've seen the third one so many times. But yeah. I will talk about the bonus features on the Back to the Future disc. But I'm not going to talk about Back to the Future Part 3's bonus features until we get to that. And the bonus disc I'm going to save for when I review Part 3. But it does come with all 3 films and a bonus disc. But let me go through all the special features. This is how you make special features on a DVD set. So you get, for Back to the Future Part 2, not Part 1. Part 2, you get deleted scenes, Tales from the Future time files. Actually, it does include, it includes a 6-part documentary called Tales from the Future, and this is a new special feature for the set. You get all the special features from the 2002 edition ported over to this. So even if you don't get the 2002 edition, this edition still is good. You get that the physics of Back to the Futures, a Q&A commentary with director Robert Zemeckis and producer Bob Gale, and a feature commentary with producer Bob Gale and Neil Canton. They do commentaries for all of them. In fact, all the Q&A commentaries, which I have not watched, are present onto all 3 films. So, yeah. Like I said again, there's just so much bonus features. Bonus features among bonus features among bonus features for all of these. This is how you make a collection set, a collector's edition set to one of my favorite movies. So yeah, I'm not going to explain much. I don't really know much. It's kind of more of me talking about the set than it is talking about the films. But I'm going to say this again. Final verdict. Should you see Back to the Future Part 2, I'm just going to say go watch all these movies. Even go watch the first. It's an automatic yes. It's Back to the Future. It's hard for me to review a series I near and dear my heart. When I reviewed Rocky and Bullwinkle, I kind of analyzed more of it. It's hard to analyze Back to the Future without just saying, go watch these movies. You owe yourself a disjustice. These movies are important. They're one of the best trilogy of films. My favorite movies. And just worth seeing if you want to see how great this series come along. You owe yourself to see parts 1, 2, and 3. My first time seeing Part 2, sadly, I couldn't watch much of it because the disc was glitching. But to be honest, I would say Part 2 is kind of weak. I just say if you want to watch these films, do yourself a favor and go stop the video and just watch these movies. But if you want to hear my insight, that is totally cool with me. So that's Back to the Future Part 2. If you like what I've reviewed of that, stick around. Like I said, do all that. I don't need to explain anymore, but thumbs up, thumbs down. Tell me your thoughts on this franchise. Click a like, subscribe. whatever. And I'll see you back here with my review of part 3, because that's what I'm going to next. And I'm going to tell you there's going to be more to say about part 3 than I did with the first 2. But just go watch these movies. And I will catch you guys later. See you back here with my review of part 3. Don't want to miss it.